transfer the call.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll call the Stevensville Town Council meeting agenda for Thursday, January 25th, 2024. Janelle, would you take the roll call, please?
Councilmember Barker. Here. Councilmember Brown. Here. Councilmember Nelson.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
And Mayor Mickelson.
Here. Could you please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will now take public comments on anything that is not on the agenda tonight. Please step up to the podium and state your name and address, please.
My name is Nina Williams. I live at 105 College Street, Stevensville. And I sent a letter earlier in the month to the council about possibly expanding my First Street rose garden. And I hope everyone received it or saw a copy of it. Anyway, I have gotten nothing but positive feedback, and I'm growing the flowers and bringing beauty and that sort of thing to this little corner where I live, and I would like to expand it so that I can probably provide flowers for events, functions. Anyone wants to buy them for the restaurants or sell, take to the assisted living home, et cetera, et cetera. I just feel like I'm in a little, I can't expand unless I ask either the city that owns that little strip there or Fort Owen if I could possibly buy or lease a little bit amount of land to make it just a little bit bigger for me. Basically and I said that in the letter, so I'm kind of nervous right now.
Okay.
Anyway, I've been doing this for, at that little plot for, this will be going on the 3rd year. And I hooked up to the city water. I'm growing mostly roses, but I also have annuals and native plants and berries. And I would like to expand into more seasonal flowers such as sweet peas and dahlias and zinnias. Not just the roses in the extra land if I can get it. So I've had it fenced for deer. I've had a couple break-ins, so I had to put a lock on the gate. But when I'm out there gardening, everybody stopped. I mean, I just had so many people stop by and say they just love it, and it's just been just a positive thing. So I have no idea what your feelings are about it. I just thought I had to start somewhere and ask.
Well, first we'd have to know, you'd have to make up your mind what you want to do, whether you just want to lease it, like you say, and we'd have a process where we go through, or the different process you wanted to actually purchase a little bit of property.
Yeah, I didn't even know if it was, if you would consider selling it at all. I just had no idea what the process is or how everybody viewed that.
I'd like to get it in my mind of where the property is.
Oh, it's off of the East Side Highway between, it's on First Street. Well, First Street is the closest street, but it's between College and Church. And it's a little wedge.
And you've got it fenced off.
And I bought that property from the owner of the Bass Mansion, the Conrad Bass Mansion, Barry Barnes.
Okay.
And it was just this little island, and it's surrounded basically by Fort Owen and then the town.
Mr. Mayor, I'd have to ask if there's anything to do with an easement or anything like that.
Right, that'd be one of the options.
So when you say that you hooked up to the city water, what do you mean you've hooked up to the city water with that?
Well, I paid the fees and this was not this summer, but summer before. So I have water there. I have a.
Oh, so there is access for water already.
She already has irrigation.
Okay.
Yeah, I had Bobby Lewis do all the excavating, and then I paid the fee for the city. And because that summer, or the first spring I was there, it stopped raining, so I quickly realized I can't keep hauling water in the wagon and, wheelbarrow, and it was just getting out of control, so I decided to go ahead and do that. It was really worth it.
Yeah, obviously there is a process that we have to go through for that. I know there was a big discussion when it was the Caps were wanting to buy that piece of property too, and in exchange for stuff, and there's quite the ordeal that would come with it, so.
So if you would like to sometime, come in town hall and we could discuss it further and we could look at our
Okay.
options that works best for you before we brought it. Because one way we have to, one option would be taken to planning and zoning hashes it out, brings it back before the council. Because if you're interested in purchasing it, then that's a whole different animal. We'd have to start the whole process, it starts here,
Okay,
so.
so just come in like tomorrow or Monday and just talk.
Monday would work for me.
Okay,
I'm gonna come in.
great. Well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments on anything not on the agenda?
This is all.
Step up to the podium, ma'am, and state your name and address, please.
Nicole Minfeld, 255 Sapphire View, Florence, Montana. I met Wally, I think, last week, and he told me about you guys' meeting. I have started a county-wide wildfire mitigation competition, and I've been talking to Rhode Island County Office of Emergency Management about it. But I am trying to just reach out to all the different neighborhood councils and townships and kind of let them know that I'm starting a big project so that we can all work on wildfire mitigation together as neighbors and kind of see wildfire from like a bigger landscape view than just like, oh, well, that neighbor did some defensible space and that neighbor did a little bit and, they pulled out their junipers, but like there's no really cohesive strategy to make sure that we don't have an urban conflagration in the valley or Missoula. We're the two highest risk wildfire counties for wildfire, and living on the county line, I couldn't really just like pick one and not the other. So I'm trying to do it for both counties and get everybody, one, just to tell you guys that I exist. And I'm still waiting for my final IRS designation for my 501c3, and then I can get my full website and Google will recognize me. But I just want to let people know that it's coming up, it'll be in June, and the best way that I could potentially reach the people of Stevensville. Because otherwise direct mailers, they start out really cheap and then they add up really quick.
Okay, so you'll be in contact with us.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 4, the approval of minutes. Item A, town council meeting minutes, 1/11/24. Councilmember Barker.
I make a motion for approval of town council meeting minutes from 1/11/24.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. We have a motion and a second. We have discussion by the council. We have discussion by the public. Seeing none, Janelle, would you take the vote?
Councilmember Barker.
Aye.
Councilmember Brown.
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson.
Abstain.
And Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Item number B, special town council meeting minutes of 1/18/2024. Councilmember Barker.
Make a motion to approve special town council meeting minutes from 1/18/2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have a discussion. We have discussion from the public on the minutes. Seeing none, Janelle, would you take the vote?
Councilmember Barker.
Aye.
Councilmember Brown.
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson.
Abstain.
And Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Item number 5, approval of biweekly claims. Claims number 18780 through 18798. Councilmember
I'm Smith, not Wallace. Make a motion to accept biweekly claims 18780 through 18798.
We have a second. Councilmember Barker.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have a discussion on the claims? Councilmember Barker.
Claim number 18787, Robert Michelson for $30.15. I see travel meeting with Sheriff Holton in Hamilton. Can I ask what that was for?
Yes, that one is going to be in my executive report. That has to do with our police situation.
Okay,
He asked me to come up there and meet with him. So,
and there's another one on here too, I think.
Oh, I did have a question, yes.
I think she had another one.
Go ahead, I'm trying
Okay.
to find which one it was.
It's me.
Okay, I had a question on 18797, just asking what the cemetery map and supplies, and what is cemetery map and all this about? I'm not familiar with the process.
So new maps were printed for the cemetery so that the public works could have them in their vehicles as well as here at town hall.
Oh, I see, thank you.
Councilmember Barker.
Okay, claim number 18785, obviously it has to do with Montana Rail Link, the crossing fees. I know that they've taken a lot of those out of the valley, the crossings and stuff like that, so why are we still paying on one if?
I can answer that because I asked the same question when I signed the claim. I said, being an old railroader, that line's abandoned, what are we paying for it? It's law. Even though
They've taken it out?
they've taken it out, it's still their property.
It's actually where our sewer line goes under it too, and our water line. So that's why they're never gonna give up
Okay,
that property.
that makes sense.
Any other question on the claims?
Yeah, that one is,
Any question from the public on the claims? Seeing none, Janelle, would you take the vote?
Councilmember Barker.
Aye.
Councilmember Brown.
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson.
Abstain.
And Councilmember Smith.
aye,
Motion passes 3-0. New business. Item A, discussion, finance report, budget versus actual and cash report. Hopefully you guys improve that a little bit and you'll see there's a difference that Cindy pointed out to me the other night between the general and the other one. So Robert's going to go through and explain item by item and he can answer any questions that you have.
Can you please nicely highlight?
Okay, so I just added. Okay. That first report. That first report is our cash report, okay, where we sit right now. The one I sent out with this packet was on dated 1/27. I'm just not looking into the future there, I guess. But it's actually 1/17. What I did today, I've added 1/24, so we've had a pretty big increase in just those 7 days. So that's where our cash sits right now, in all the different funds. So we got about 3.9 million in the bank, with the cash right now. Some of the negatives you'll see on the ambulance fund and the capital improvement, that's just a glitch of doing the FR, the auditors they do a couple journal vouchers and it comes out and so we got to put more money in those two funds out of the general fund in the end, but we'll have to do a budget for that. Or they'll just do the same thing next year and it just grows. So we'll work on that one. So, any questions with the cash? That's that first report.
Councilmember Brown.
Yes, the cash balance for the airport.
Yes.
Is that a correct figure?
As of 2 minutes ago when I put it in, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, the next report, which you hardly ever gonna see, because I don't know what it is, it's basically a statement of revenue versus, our actions. And that is by fund again, so in the columns, you'll have what we received this month, second column, what we received year to date, what we estimated in the budget, and then how much more we need to receive. If you see a negative in that column, that means we received more money than we estimated. And if you go down to Fund 2110, the tax, the TIP fund, we estimated we're gonna get about $8,000, and we've gotten about $27,000 so far. And that's because the state's putting extra money into that fund because of the way they, basically our TIF tax district isn't making any money because they have an exemption of the property limits. And so they realize that, so the state just gives us money for that fund. And it's a lot more than what we thought it was gonna be, which is pretty good. And that's happening same with the TED for the most part. We estimate about 10,000, we've already got about 13,000. So that's good. The general fund, we've received about 61% of what we projected to get so far. And usually that's, the big tax check will come right at the end of the year, the next big tax check. But we'll get tax checks throughout a couple of months, but they're not that big, but the big ones will be in June. The other one that's kind of skews it a little bit is that ARPA water leak 5230. The next big chunk of money comes into that fund will be when we start the project, and that will be that grant money we get, we receive. We don't get all of that. So all in all, we're about 45% of what we expected to receive, but that ARPA money is a big chunk of change, so it kind of skews that percentage, because that's over $1 million. Question with the revenue.
So overall, Robert, how much have we spent on the budget so far?
Okay, that would be the next sheet. The next one is the statement of expenditures versus the budget, okay? So overall, we are 33% spent, basically 7 months into the year.
Which is really good.
Which is really good, but once again, it's kind of skewed because of that ARPA grant, which we said we're gonna spend all that money, we haven't spent a dime on it yet. But for the most part, the good news, like for the general fund, we're 50% spent, 7 months into the year. And really, you look at a lot of these numbers are pretty much right where they need to be. The kind of, I point out the 5250 water bond principal and interest. It says 93% spent. The reason why that is because remember we took $400 and some thousand out of that, and put it in the leak repair.
What the ARPA?
ARPA, that was our match. So that's why that seems like it's a lot more spent than what where we'd be. Like we still got to make what 5 more payments, throughout the year, and we have the money for that. Questions on where we are with the budget? Yes.
I had a question about the police training and pension.
Yes.
It said that we've spent 0%.
Yeah, we're spending that now because Cassie's gone to school, so we'll start spending that now.
Okay, how about on the pension? If we put money into the pension already?
For the fire?
No, for police.
That's just their training account.
Oh, it says training and pension.
That's what they call it. So in a sense, the police use it for training and the fire use it for their pension.
Okay, that was
Yeah.
confusing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And we get money to those accounts based on the insurance proportionate portion that comes from the state. Last year it was about $53,000 each. And so we used to get that about May. And that's what we get, just a pass through to the fire department. The other half goes into the training fund.
Okay.
Any more questions? Okay.
On the budgets versus the actuals again, are we worried about any of the, obviously, the lighting districts where we're setting at?
No, actually, if you look on the, revenue report, okay, so that's gonna match up where, some of the lighting districts are already collected at 95%, and some of them are not, 50%, and that's all has to do when they pay their taxes. So we will get another big check, the second portion of that money will come in.
Just don't want to be scrambling at the last minute.
Exactly, I think we're gonna be good on those
Keep the
accounts
lights
this year.
on.
Yeah, exactly.
The building code enforcement, it's up there at 60% too.
And a lot of the building code enforcement money is basically, we pay Tim, and so he gets most of that money, and we're not getting a lot coming out of that. He's not getting paid very much, because there's not a lot of building going on. So I don't even know if we're gonna use,
Really spoiled already.
yeah, we're not. We want this building, so we may not even have to spend all that. But we get it, we give it to him for the most part.
The other question, I just want to make sure, the Main Street lighting project, that was because we gave that money back
Yep.
to those people.
Yeah, and that,
Okay.
that fund's closed. Yeah, that was revenue based on it. The last part that I'll mention is, since we moved the money from Rocky Mountain Bank as of September, that's when we moved it. As of December, we've made $39,000. And one of the reasons why we moved it, you won't get anything, but quite a few years ago, we were getting 5%, and then the economy did good, and the cost of money went to nothing, and we got nothing. And then Rocky Mountain Bank kept us at nothing for a little bit. And Gene and Steve moved it over to First Security Bank. Now we're making some pretty good money on that. It's 4%. 4%.
Investment funds,
Yeah.
and 3% of operating.
And it sounds like we're making good money, but with inflation at 12+%, we're still losing. But it's still pretty good money. We wouldn't be really losing from that. That's kudos to Gina for bringing that up and making that happen, not waiting on Rocky Mountain Bank. That's what it matters. So that's really good. And you'll see that when on the revenue income, some of the investment, you don't see it on the big account here, but some of the accounts, when we budgeted for the investments, it would make, we've already met those, that amount we thought we were gonna get. So like the airport, I think we said we're gonna do about 600 for the airport investments. They're already 4 months into it, they already got $680 some investment. So it's helping.
Any other comments from the council to ask? Mr. Underwood?
I just like the 33%, that's pretty good.
Any comments from the public?
Yeah. Can you explain to me in the cash report why the ambulance was in negative 1,136?
That has to do with the JV that the AFR did. And I haven't talked to them about that because we put money into it to make it great. But when they did their JVs last year, it didn't match. So I got to talk to them about that. Both those accounts should, in my opinion, should have been positive. So I have not talked to them about why it has not. Some of that, because we're reimbursing everything we get from the district. So it's just something that because before we did the AFR, it was straight, and we did the AFR, they give us like, how many JVs? Quite a few JVs.
47.
Yeah, And it's, the whole design of their JVs is that nothing is zero at the end of, well, part of their JVs is make sure nothing is zero, so they do it, temporary loan and then they do it and bring it back. And for some reason, I don't know if that,
What are JVs, so that's.
journal vouchers, so that's just a accounting term to move money within the fix, if you will, your accounting system, or fix, or just add entries to your accounting system. Journal voucher, so,
To clean things up.
yeah, clean things up, so
So like the $3 in fireman disability,
that's been there since I've been there. Cause we
Spend it
just,
already, wouldn't you know?
but the funny part is, I think they did that because if you take, if you give it all out, then it goes off the thing and everybody goes, where's that account? It's like, okay, no, just keep it there.
placeholder type.
Exactly, it just stays in
You won't
there.
see it otherwise,
Yeah.
it just kind of drops it off the report, which is kind of weird.
Okay, and then, back on the expenditures, then on the fireman disability, we just need to ask for that check.
Yes, and that's, depending on the ask, we just got to print it out. The only question I had is to make sure that, and I think I got the answer already, just, but, Vic said, when I mentioned about that money going into, money they need
you
going
were
into the
talking about
pension
that,
fund, right? Yeah, so, yeah, we just have to cut that check.
And then, it's not shown on here, but we also had the Relief Association funds. $13,000 worth. That was to the Relief Association for the year.
We're gonna have to talk on that.
Okay. It's in the budget, but
Yeah,
we'll visit on it.
Yeah. If it's, we put it in the budget, then it's there, because we just,
It's probably in the general fund then still.
yeah, we have to go to check out. It would all be in the general fund.
My question, Vicki Motley, 318 9th Street. My question is the Gene Thomas Fund. There's 10,000 budgeted. What was that for? Because the park board hadn't approved of any money to be expended in that account this year. And then my second thing is, can we have an updated paper that you just gave the council that isn't in the board packet?
Yeah, I can do it. I'll do this one. Yeah, so the funny with G Thomas has got $6,294 in it. In the budget, it says we can spend up to 10,000. Obviously, you can't, you don't spend 6,000. If that's what is approved. So the process of spending money out of G Thomas Fund, because, goes to Mark Board first recommendations, then it goes, to the Parks Director, to the mayor, and back forth, you guys. Doesn't mean that money's spent, but it's still got to go through the process. It's
Right,
just-
and that was something that I had barked about, I don't know how many times, and was told different on it, that it was for concrete, it was for this and that, and so forth. There was a first initial that we worked on getting the grant on, and which we did the matching money on it, and we got that. That was the only discussion, and then all of a sudden, we've got all this other stuff that's coming out of it, and I did many times work on it, and so was told concrete was coming out of it, this was coming out of it, this was coming out of it.
And there should be
But it
more
shouldn't
than
be.
$6,000 left in that account.
Right now, it's $6,000. We can pull up what everything was spent on it in the last whatever years we want to go back on it. But the process, for the G Thomas is, Park Board makes the recommendations, comes forward. And that, once they make the recommendations, it goes obviously up to the mayor and back to council. So right now, if we spend the money, it's still got to go through that process. It's just out. This way, we just don't have to do a budget amendment to spend the money. Doesn't mean we have to spend the money. That's the other thing. Like anything here, just because it's in the budget doesn't mean it has to be spent.
Except it was nickel and dimed.
Yeah.
And it never went through the park board. It's just like, oh, we're gonna take that out of Gene Thomas versus being approved, because a lot of those things were never approved by the park board.
Last
So
summer,
our biggest thing that we approved for was the new well
Filtration.
filtration system that they needed to put in it. That was the only thing that we brought forth. And then all of a sudden, we were told that it was more than that.
But
but it
never,
wasn't. Because we worked to make sure that we were getting that match so that the other part of it that was not used, which I think was like 9,000 or something like that, was to go back into the Gene Thomas Fund, and I don't think it ever did.
No, last year during the budget, if you remember, I think that's one of the reasons you boys know, is because they wanted to designate the rest of the Gene Thomas money for the pool improvements. So, talking to Robert, I think not this last time, but the time before, when I first got in, we were talking about that, and I said, I think that they might want to put that money back that was designated for the pool.
Yeah.
And then I asked if we had to do a budget amendment, and you said, I don't think so, it's the same.
I think you do have to do a budget.
Well, I mean, if
amendment
it's
to put that
saying
into
the
that
same,
fund.
yes, put it back in the Gene Thomas, yes, but I mean, from the pool into the other part.
Because it would just come out of the general fund back into the T. Thomas. I know last year they voted to spend $10,000 on the pool. So they vote to that.
No, it
up
was
to $10,000
for
if we didn't get the grant, and we got the grant, so it shouldn't have been the whole thing.
Well, let's pull the records on it, see, because there's two different finance officers now, and the plan's going through, I don't have that whole
minutes.
in front of me, so we just have to pull it up and see where all the money went, and if there's money to go back, we just have to go back to the council and just ask it to transfer funds.
And I think I talked to you about it, Stacy, that if you want me to do an agenda item to put it back.
I think it needs to go back on there. I'll make sure.
Square. May I address the council member?
Go ahead.
Councilman Parker, does the park board have a designation for what you want to spend Gene Thomas on?
Absolutely, it
Have
does.
something going on?
We have different projects that we've talked about doing with street
Soon to
improvements.
be brought before the council?
Oh, yeah, all that stuff has to be brought in front of the
I
council.
know that, but
We
you have
go
something
for,
soon?
you've got to have a meeting first before you can,
Oh, okay.
especially with new,
So good plans for it then.
there has been many talks of what we wanted. Obviously, they were working on the Arbor Day Foundation on getting more trees throughout the town. The dwellings around the trees themselves on Main Street was another discussion. And I think there was a lot of different things that we talked about, was just fund wise. And then it slowly has just,
Yeah, it disappears, so.
Yeah,
I'd just like one more comment. Thank you for bringing this information forward. It's always good to see where we are throughout the year.
we'll try to do that every 3 months. That's what we're supposed to do. Any other discussion from the council? Okay, thank you. And we'll move on to item number B, consent to the mayor's appointment of Dustin Woods to the airport board. May I have a motion? Councilmember Barker.
I make a motion for the mayor's appointment of Dustin Woods to the airport board.
There's a motion, do I have a second?
I second that.
Seconded by Isaiah, Mr. Nelson. Discussion.
Is Dustin here?
No, he is not.
I don't think I know who Dustin is.
He's been on the board.
Was there here?
Years.
Any discussion on the council?
Dustin is not here. He's been on the council, I think for several years. He does have a business and he does miss quite a few meetings because he's out of town on business. Okay? Or during the time period I was on the airport board.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other? Mr. Nelson?
Yeah, I was just curious, is that going to be a conflict for him to, like, what are the?
To attend the board meetings and.
Yeah, well, the board members, what are his obligations to the airport? My question.
That would be well reviewed.
Mr. Rowe?
Talk about that. So clarify, so the airport board itself is an advisory board to the council. So the board has projects going on up there. They have their monthly meetings to discuss what's happening with the airport, keep track of the budget, different things within the FAA, because there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, absolutely.
The board it gives advice to the council on the direction of the airport.
Oh, okay.
It's really an advisory board.
Oh, okay.
That's its purpose.
That was. Thank you. Any other questions from the council? Any questions from the public?
Can I make a comment?
You bet.
Craig Thomas, 4189 Emerald Lane, Airport Board. I was the chair. We'll see what happens. Dustin's been on the airport board for many years. He owns 4 hangars at the airport. One of them is a T hangar. It has multiple aircraft in it. He owns a business, structural repair. He does international work. They ship in helicopters from South Africa and Alaska to repair those things. Basically, he is one of the biggest experts in the United States of America on it. He developed the BART switch, which in the Huey helicopters, there's 4 bolts that hold them back, and one of them will come out, and when you do that, you crash and die, kill people on the ground. He came up with a safety device that is that is an STC by the FAA, so Dustin is a very significant member of the council. He knows a lot of history on the airport, and he is exceedingly knowledgeable. He does miss from time to time because he gets called off to Alaska and to Oregon and to South Africa to fix things. But he is in contact with us, and he is a huge access story. It's been a tremendous help for me. Thank you. Any questions?
No, I think you sound really involved. Thanks, Greg. Any other comments from the public? Any comments from the council?
I do have one, question. Obviously, I asked Jeff to bring people in front of the council when we brought new people on. Same thing with some of these other boards, if we can put faces to them, it make it so much easier. Obviously they change so frequently, but to know who they are, I think is a big part of us to be able to work together as a whole. So.
You're right, they should be showing up to be nominated on anything, whether it's a board or, what would it be like if a council member didn't show up to their?
Same thing. So if that's something that we can just kind of push with these guys, just to let them know that, putting a face together would be nice.
Well, and comment to that, Dustin is up there at 5:30 in the morning working, and he leaves about 6. It's intense what he does, and what he does keeps people alive, so he has to concentrate pretty heavily on it. He's not a social person.
5 minutes, that's all I ask. 5 minutes.
Okay. You want him at the next meeting?
I won't be here at the next meeting.
If you would like to come up there, I'd be glad to give you a tour or show you around.
Yeah, just to, obviously just to put a face to the people.
Right.
I've known some of them for quite some time, but there are people up there that I have no idea who they are.
Right.
So.
Thank you, Greg. Any other comments from the council? Public? Janelle, would you take the vote?
Councilor Barker? Aye. Councilor Brown?
Abstain.
Councilor Nelson?
Aye.
And Councilor Smith?
Motion passes 3-0. Item number C, approval to close town hall for partial or full day for the purpose of utility billing training. And before I ask for a motion and a second to start the discussion, with your permission, I would like to have Robert and Gina and Janelle all step up and state the reason that we don't have a utility billing officer yet, and also why we need training. So, go ahead. Whatever wants to.
So yesterday I was working with Black Mountain on our utility billing system. We've recognized there's an issue with the system itself, and even Black Mountain, as of yesterday, we're looking at it and they're saying, the people who use in Black Mountain work with utility billing, they know utility billing, and people know accounting.
They're
And we-
separate systems. They're made by the same company, but they're separate systems. I think that's important to know.
And so if you look at the revenue statement, you'll see it negative this month so far. What happens, it's gonna stay negative until we close it at the end of the month, and then we get a positive. Well, looking at all the reports yesterday, James, the expert from the utility billing side side of Black Mountain says, we've got to get the accounting side, they've got to come together. We've really got to look at our system because the numbers aren't matching up like they should. They just can't figure it out. So, you know, that's part of the bigger picture what's going on. And we want to get that fixed. And that's because we've had multiple billing clerks in the last few years and the way our system was set up initially years ago. And so, for example, when we with the meter reads that went bad last month, we have to do the corrections. Well, for now we're doing the corrections the way Black Mountain wants us to do them. We're getting negative on our reports. That shouldn't be happening like this. And so they're trying to figure it out too. But once we close out, like we closed out yesterday for December, $37,000. But we're now 6,000. So they want to close down and have us go through this system and make sure it works. That's part of it. The other part is to understand the Black Mountain way to do it before we hire somebody who's involved in this kind of mess. I don't want to use the word mess. A unique system that it's got that we've got to, you know, we've all got to understand it to make sure it matches. One of the problems we've always had a problem with is reconciling. Because what it says we take in and what shows up on our bank account is just, none of the numbers match, so you're paying, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You're trying to put all these pieces together and then this month, oh, magically it appears. And they're like, it shouldn't be that hard. It should be straight across the board. And that's what they want to sit down and go through our entire system and say, okay, you know, and so everybody will understand how to make the corrections from anybody taking money, all the way from doing the meter reads, all the way to the reconciliation on the end, so we should be able to see it. And this what went to the bank, and this what went here. And there's a little bit more involved in that because we have a BDS involved and they take payments, and even that's not
So is that tech payment that you're talking about, the one that's in Boise, is that?
Yep, those guys we get the billing from is the BDS.
So is there a way that we could alleviate that and then just do the two systems together and do away with that particular billing system?
PDS is a collection, they send our bills and they collect the payments, so people make payments online, and that's what BDS is. They are a credit card kind of ACH processing where people can get their bill and they go online and they pay it. The thing of that is, and Black Mountain is actually, I've been working with them, I'd like to be a beta tester. They're trying to do their own processing for sending bills and collecting payments and stuff like that. They just haven't finished that product yet. So eventually, based on what they can show us and how it will work, I think we would end up moving to that because it would all be streamlined within one system. BDS is fine. I mean, it collects our payments. It's expensive. It's very expensive, I think. Not only for us, but
I've used it
our residents.
before.
Yeah.
It's very expensive. You know,
Yeah.
we're paying $6-7 for just a processing to go through. It's expensive.
Yes, it is.
I just, one time.
I know they charge a percentage, so we're really trying to figure that out. But I think our biggest thing is that we were kind of left flat-footed. You know, we were just kind of left and none of us knew how to do utility billing. And the more we really started looking into it and the more we started seeing these issues coming up, we were like, we really need to figure out how the system works before we throw anybody in there. Because if we just threw somebody in there, it's like setting them up for failure because we don't even know how to do it. We don't even know what the system is. And when you talk about training, anybody can sit down and watch a video on how to train. Okay, that's fine, but how does the process work in Stevensville? It's not probably the same that it works in Hamilton or Missoula or wherever they have this process. You have to have a good workflow and really sitting down and where we all understand it. And we can go, we know what's happening here. We can at least help and even see what the job entails, right? See what the job entails and help whoever it is there. But right now, we're having a hard time helping ourselves because we're just trying to figure out there's a lot of issues that are going on with no meter reads and all this other stuff. And so we're just trying to figure that out. And we'll get there. But Black Mountain's been really great. Robert, Janelle, myself, and the mayor are all gonna sit down when that training happens. So we all have a really good idea and then can make really positive, decisions going forward on how it's gonna be best to help with that system and help with that person being in there. So.
They said it all. We talk about it so often throughout the day, and if it wasn't for you guys helping and all three of us tackling some of the biggest pieces, which is meter reads that don't come through, and then when they do come through and they
So
shoot
why,
out high
can I ask
numbers.
why we're
and-
having so much problems with the meter reads? Is there something that is causing it to where?
We haven't even been able to even focus on Harmony, who is the system that helps us with our meter reads, to even understand what's truly happening with that piece. That's the only answer I have for it.
So we
at this
paid
point.
for training, a couple of years ago. But
2020.
for Harmony to come in, well, it was set up by an individual, I won't name who. Didn't tell anybody, and when they came here to train, nobody was able to train, so Laura got trained. Not the person actually doing the meter reads, who's not even here anymore. So that person didn't get trained, we got the new equipment.
No manual.
And then so, but they figured out, because they were here when George was here, he kind of had a better idea of what it was. It's kind of, we've lost a little bit of the technique and procedures of how to do it. When a person goes and does the reading. And now we realize that that's gonna have to be a part of this training.
So how did they do the meter readings? Just
Right
curious.
down the street.
So they drive down the street just to.
We have a computer system, and that software is reading as you go down in a route or down a street, up a street, across, whatever, however the route is.
It depends how fast they go, if they get the correct.
And if you go up that one street down, yeah, that's what we're trying,
That's what we're trying to
we've
figure out.
realized that the reads are not getting taken, and not all the meters are bad. They could be blocked by people's stuff underneath their houses where the
Okay.
meters at.
Yeah.
And so it's gonna take a little time to develop that route so that the person who goes and doesn't know that, oh, you have to go over here. Maybe, and some of them, most of the meters are actually working.
Okay.
It's just not, some of them aren't transmitting because the batteries are dead, and some are not transmitting because the vehicle's not quite blocked. And some of them are maybe blocked by, they're in the rear of the house and you need to drive down the alley. And so that knowledge that George knew kind of went away. And so, but a meter spin, even if it doesn't, the batteries go dead. So the next thing is you have to go check the meter manual, go look at it. And that's the piece we haven't done because a lot of people won't let in the house, they're not home, so we're working piece to put a thing on their door, give them 10 days to make an appointment, whatever it is, you need to check out. And then move forward. So, make sure we can get it down.
This is helpful knowing this, because there's so many different pieces that even as a council member, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's pretty when you start looking, you're just like, where do you start, and it's just, we decided this is where we start with training. And
So obviously we put out extra money for a lot of these meters that now we don't need. Is this?
We don't know.
We don't know yet.
We don't know.
But I mean, if that's the worst case scenario, we put up.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case. I think a lot of them are on back order though.
They're still on back order.
Yeah, they come from Israel, so, they're across the country, they're on back order, and you can't get hold of them, get in.
And the
We do have
issue,
like 44 of them down there at the plant.
and the issue we had with, 2 years ago when Public Works Director Cruz came to us, remember that in 22? We purchased 100 of them or whatever. Well, we didn't know at the time, but a bunch of them, they were defective when they got them. So when they installed them,
Still didn't work.
yeah, they were dead on arrival. We didn't know it, and so they had to go back and change them, and that put us even further behind on doing this stuff. and trying to
So
get
there should have been replacements sent for
Right,
those dead
yes,
ones.
those were sent
But then
back,
it's
and
back,
that
and
was-
then there's.
and backwards.
Yeah. So we have no real tracking of what we have and what we don't have.
We do. 44 of them, we have 44 of them down there, what Mr. Lassiter told me. And he was calling on the other ones that were on back order from Israel. But hey, if 174 of them are no reads right now, and if we could cut that down to 120 and 130 by doing vigilance, whether it's stopping, changing your route, I think, and I'm gonna have to work with Public Works on that, you know, to make sure you're just getting out, knocking on doors and get a schedule, because there's, what we have is certain areas of the town, like Mission and Spring, there'll be a certain block of town, area there of homes. One right after the other, no reads, Janelle. It's just, and Janelle did a good job one day. She coded them with this, and made them all out, and that was part of our plan going forward here, is to say, here, Public Works, go out in this section here, go read these meters. And see where we're at, and if it means knocking on doors or slowing down, going up to the door or whatever to do it, then it has to be done. Because, and then that way we'll know whether they need to be changed or not, and you get a meter reading. I mean, I can't think of any other way to do that than physically doing it, because right now, just going up and down and doing the same route time after time, it obviously isn't working. I don't think, and that's up to me to get them to change that, and that's my job, and I will do that. But it just, you know, not defending them down there, but we had a couple water breaks in town and everything, and meters broke. And so, but we need to get that done before the watering season comes, because that's where our revenue is, and that's a whole nother item. We're losing revenue because, like I mentioned to you, and I mentioned to Cindy, in the summer months at the school, for example, when they're watering like crazy, and we should be making a lot of money, well, the meter's doing this. So we're not making anything. You know, they're paying a basic rate every month, but that's an example. I'm just saying that there's other areas in town too, so. But we have to get our revenue stream and our water back up.
Are the school meters being read?
Yeah. Any more, Mr. Nelson?
Is there any time frame on the back order meters that are, or is that even an issue, because you're saying you already have too many? Or possibly have too many?
I think that at this point in time, they're just, Mr. Lassiter, the second to last council meeting, or not the special town council meeting, but our last council meeting, had mentioned that he had had some contact with Core and Main, who we purchased the meters from. And then I'll look back at the minutes. I think that they had a good conversation. It looks like they could be on their way, but they're not, they won't come like in a lump sum at this point. There's still a lot of your back. Yep, they'll sort of trickle in.
And I apologize for not speaking up.
Oh, that's okay.
Slightly monotone.
It's my fault.
Events in Israel might put a little damper on things right now.
They got other things to deal with. Thank you.
Any other questions from the council?
Oh, yes.
Councilmember Brown?
So is it just for the three of you and not Public Works attending this meeting?
This particular training,
This training is just strictly on the system and how to process the information when it comes in.
Okay,
And then how to, so after they do their meter reads and we get the information, it's all like, what do we do after that happens? So when all of that stuff comes in, we have to process it through funding, it's gotta be uploaded to Black Mountain, we've gotta run all these reports and do all these things and make sure that it kind of talks to each other, I guess, and then the bills then get sent to BDS. So basically, this training is just on that. It's not on actually how to read the meters. That will kind of be separate. I think we're working on that right now, on setting up maybe different routes to make sure that the meters are read. And so that's kind of a separate issue than what we're talking about from the training on
the Black Mountain side.
the Black Mountain side.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Robert, now when you talked about that $10,000 training, that was basically on the Harmony side, wasn't it?
Harmony side, yes.
Right, and that would be the part of the meter reading and all
That would
that.
be-
That was the rest of the meter reading.
Master meters, so.
All has to do
Yes,
with that.
if we could get that training, I think it'd be well worth it. And then the Public Works would have to come in, and then they would have to be. Councilmember Brown?
just one thing, I'd be more than happy to schedule a day off so that somebody could be in the office. I volunteered to sit down there just to have somebody in the office when you're doing your training.
Well, that's great, because I've already volunteered for that already. So we can work together.
Just so there's a body in there.
So, question, Mr. Mayor, you want to narrow this down? Do you need a partial day or a full day?
Well, they
It
don't.
doesn't seem like a partial's going to work.
Well, if it runs through the full, then no. Go.
I think from when we were talking to James, he said it would be about 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours. So it wouldn't be a full day, and we're wanting to do it in the morning. So even if we came in at 7 in the morning, we could, try and figure that out, whatever James's schedule is like. And, but really, he said to kind of go through it thoroughly would be a good 4 hours. And then that would give us, an extra hour for us to kind of sit and regroup and like, okay, what are we gonna do here? Like, how are we gonna do that? And how we're gonna do it, Cindy, is each one of us are gonna be at a computer so we can all watch it. So we would be in the main office.
But you wouldn't have to get up to handle the counter.
True, but I think the problem with that might be, is there's so many questions that come in that sometimes I can't answer, and you would say, oh, Janelle's in, not gonna answer. that.
Well, we could at least explain to the public that you're in training and that you should be available at such and such a time. Is the only
I just worry that it might be a bit of a distraction, but just because we're all gonna be in the main office and if people are coming up to the window, we're gonna all be looking, you know what I mean? So I think that's.
Put the blinders on.
Yeah, wish I could. Yeah, that doesn't happen, that doesn't happen, unfortunately.
Quick question, yeah.
Any way that you could maybe use upstairs.
Our computers
No,
don't.
our computers
Okay.
are only done, yeah.
Well, I just feel we should try to have somebody at the front window, even if we sat out in the hallway or something. Might be an idea.
Well, depending on the time, Colette could be available, depending on her schedule. Because she's filled in a lot of times for, the two ladies were sick or had stuff going on.
This isn't court date, is it?
We don't know. Okay, any other questions?
You've answered the questions, that's for sure.
Any questions from the public? Seeing no more, Janelle, would you go ahead.
I'll need a motion in a second.
Oh, wait, that motion, yes, it was Janelle. So we could get a motion?
Okay, I'll motion that we approve town hall to have a partial or full day recess for utility training.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Seconded.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any more discussion from them? Any more discussion from the public? Seeing none, Janelle, would you take the vote?
No. Jeff, are you sure?
I'm sure.
Okay. Ask the question. You guys, you've jumped twice.
Well, I just think that you're absolutely right. It would be a huge distraction, people coming in and out and side conversations going on. I think if you close down all the windows over that side, and maybe you have a person through the window on the police department side, something like that might work, but you can't let people see that oh, they're in there, because it will not work.
You must have been here one day and seen this. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that feedback.
Okay, Janelle, would you take the vote?
I sure can. Councilmember Barker? Aye. Councilmember Brown?
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson?
Aye.
And Councilmember Smith?
Motion passes 4-0. Item number D, discussion decision. Approval to move forward with the process for an emergency facilities and land use agreement between the USDA, Forest Service, and the town of Stevensville. Again, with the council's permission, I would like to have Mr. Will Rowe, our airport manager, come up and give us a short little presentation on what's going on.
So I was in contact with Tyler Brothers from the Forest Service. This is a standard deal we do up there. The last one was signed in 2020 with Dewey, and it's up for renewal. So that's basically all the process we're at now. They needed it back by the end of January through approval, so we can draw it up, and it goes through Tyler and Region 1 District Office. So we can look at prices, where helicopters are gonna get put, and all the emergency land use agreement is if we have a fire, we have fire students in North Valley, we're gonna get paid for them to park helicopters there and suppression equipment. If we don't do a land use agreement, they can come in and use it anyway. It's partially federally funded, so it's in our benefit to renegotiate this land use agreement for them. Once we get all the contract information put forth, we'll bring it back to the council. That'll be it. We'll have another one that'll be updated. Very simple.
So real quick question, does the fire department get involved with it like they had before at one time as well? Were they, or is
So-
it just your contract or just this? I think there was kind of confusion.
Yeah, and there's different levels to that within the land use agreement on the old one that they had set up, for rates that they pay, whether it's just aircraft or there's fire suppression equipment there. And I know there's been some history in the past where somehow the town of Stevensville and the airport became a pass-through for a volunteer department that wasn't Stevensville's equipment to be parked there, which was kind of outside of the agreement, but that's been a while. So we need to kind of revisit that in the contract and get everything straight. As far as I know, these things work. This is what the town receives for them to use that facility. We're not a pass-through for others. If they hire, contracted with volunteer fire departments, and Jeff can probably tell you how that works. I don't know how all that stuff works for them. That's between them and their contract or whatever. That doesn't
It just
have
seemed like
anything
it
to
was
do with
all
their
on one contract at one time, and that's why I'm kind of.
Right.
I want to see this one, just making sure, are we doing two different contracts for this, or this is just this
Yeah.
particular?
So as far as just the land use agreement between Forest Service, USDA, and the airport is all we're working on. If there's something else that involves volunteer fire department stuff, that doesn't have anything to do with us.
Okay.
I'm sure if that answered it for you, but yeah.
Well, it's like I said, I've seen it in the past where
Yeah.
this, and so I don't know if it just wasn't properly brought to us or how that worked or, so
I'm not sure. I
just
wasn't
making
part of
sure that
one,
everybody's
so.
ducks are in the row.
Yeah. Considering when that one was signed and who signed it,
Correct.
probably wasn't right.
And I don't know, maybe Jeff can answer
Just,
that as well, but it's just.
I'd like to get a
yeah, I just
motion
want-
in a second, that way Jeff can come up the way it should come. Can I get a motion? Councilmember Brown?
I move that the council authorize the airport manager, Will Rowe, to meet and/or open the line of communication with the bidder at National Forest Service for a renewal or / amended land use agreement with the town of Stevensville. The previous agreement that has expired and with the concurrence of the town of Stevensville Airport Board. This agenda item will need to come back in front of the appropriate boards, department, and/or the town attorney as needed for vital consideration.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
We got one back.
Second motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Now can we open it for discussion? Again.
Sure.
Council, okay, public?
Craig Thomas, 2189 Overland, Stevensville, Airport Board Chair. I negotiated this contract with Dean Bitterman in 2016. The council signed it, Mary Cruz signed it. It's been in effect a couple of different times, all right? It has been extremely financially beneficial to the airport. It was worth $178,000 in 17, all right? What we did is we asked, when the Forest Service asked for support, they can ask for fire departments in any part in the world, basically. And we asked them to have Stevensville Fire Department there. all right? We did a little cheaper than the others, but that paid the volunteer people, it paid $83,000, I think it was, and $66,000 went to the volunteers, otherwise they would have been up there as a volunteer for free. They were there 63 days, okay, you can't be off work for 63 days. So this worked out very well that way. Jeff did an excellent job. I was off on fires with equipment. It was a pandemonium, very intense time. Jeff did an excellent job. After that was over, I petitioned the United States Forest Service to allow us to keep the fire engines at the SRE building, which is a snow plow equipment building only. It was paid for with federal funds and airport funds. That's not a fire department deal, but I pleaded and put the case before the FAA that it was an extreme benefit to the community, and the fire truck they approved, and the fire truck has been there since then. So I think the first year that they were there for 1 year, and they made 24 calls. The fastest call was in 44 seconds because the person lives across the street. Okay, half of them were medical and half of them were fire calls. If they keep the truck up there and we keep the building heated, they're immediately available, so it saves them from driving up the hill and servicing our community. So this has been hugely beneficial. Basically, Will has a couple of ideas that he wants to pass forth. Dean Bitterman passed away from cancer. Tyler's brothers is now the person that he's negotiating with, and he is to negotiate with Will. Okay, Will has some ideas and Tyler has some ideas to improve the situation. Basically, the way it is set up, we do not come to council when it's all set up, cock blocked and ready to rock. Because when the fires happen, they have a helicopter inbound. Okay, so we don't have time to have a meeting and talk to people and all this kind of stuff. So we need to have all this done, which it is from the way this is set up. So the fire department knows about it, everybody knows about it, and it just happens automatically, and we follow up with the payments thereafter, and they've been very good about that. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to, I can tell you all kinds of details. But Jeff, I think, could support that.
So tying into what Craig said and Will said, it's a win for the town, for the whole community to be able to do this. This is something we need to make happen. This land use agreement needs to happen. And like Craig said, back in 2016, when we first put this all together, we kind of asked them and specified and leaned hard and heavy that they would involve the volunteer fire department from Stevensville, the town. And we would supply, and we did supply their crash rescue and also their dust abatement for them. And we were in turn compensated for that. So in order to fulfill that order that we got from the forest, we went out and we rented a tender, 3,000 gallon water tender from Pinesville Fire to work that mission. They in turn benefited from it because they got rental income for their equipment. We benefited from it because we got paid for our time and our efforts and all those things. And not only did the Stevensville Fire Department benefit, but so did Fremont, Florence, Victor, Pinesville, and Corvallis, because we tapped all their resources and individuals to help fill shifts. So it was a valley-wide beneficial thing for multiple departments and agencies up and down the valley. So yeah, this is a great thing that we need to take advantage of. And if we can in any way direct them to utilize the town's resources and the town's people, that's all the better. This last summer, we had noticed that, hey, they're looking at bringing in some airships. We mobilized. We're ready to go the next day. They never called us, they never came in, so it was all drill. But we were ready to rock for the next day, so. And that's how that system works, and it works really well.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other comments from the public? Any further comments from the council? Seeing none, Janelle, would you take a vote?
Councilmember Barker? Aye. Councilmember Brown?
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson?
Aye.
And Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Item number E, discussion decision, rescind resolution number 458 or 458A, a resolution amending the membership of the Ad hoc Climate Action Advisory Board. This board was created in 2019 in the fall by a former member, Vic, I think. And he had good intentions. He wanted somebody from the school board on there and somebody from another business in town and kind of spread it around, but for whatever reason, the board just never took off. It just got put on the back burner and nobody ever put applications in. In fact, when they did renewals, council members like you're gonna do tonight, I think I was the only one besides Vic that ever served on it. So I'm asking the council to rescind this because it's just been inactive since its inception. And I don't think we need to keep putting people on there when it's a dead issue. So with that, could I get a motion? Councilmember Barker.
I make a motion to rescind resolution number 458A, a solution amending the membership of the Ad hoc Climate Action Advisory Board.
Could I get a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second by Mr. Smith. Discussion by the council. Discussion from the public. Seeing none, Janelle, would you take the vote?
Councilmember Barker?
Aye.
Councilmember Brown?
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson?
Aye.
And Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Item number F, discussion decision to nominate and elect a council member to serve as a council president in accordance with town council rules, part 12. And Janelle has an email she'd like to read.
The email's from Cindy Brown to myself and the mayor. It is, hi Janelle and Bob, I will put my name in the hat for the town council president. Thank you and have a great day.
Okay, so with that, can we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we make Cindy Brown continue into our term as president of this council.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Nelson, we have a motion and we have a second by Mr. Nelson. Discussion by the council. Discussion by the public. Seeing none, Janelle, would you take the vote?
Councilmember Barker?
Aye.
Councilmember Brown?
Abstain.
Councilmember Nelson?
Aye.
And Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Congratulations, Mrs. Brown, for another year. Okay. Item number T, discussion decision. Appointment of councilperson to serve on the planning and zoning board in accordance with the Stevensville Municipal Code 2-313. Do we have a motion?
Please can't hold your breath that long.
I move that we, put Stacy Barker, council member Stacy Barker onto the planning and zoning board.
I'll second that.
I might have to veto that. I can't believe she's leaving the park board. This is a good thing, Stacy. I think you'd be a good member for that, and a great time for a change for you. So we have a motion and a second. Do we have a discussion?
I love the park board. Don't get me wrong.
I'm gonna disagree. You shouldn't be on that.
Thank you. I feel it's time that I look for something else. I've sat on the park board every time that I've been, even the first term that I was on council, sat on the park board. So I feel that it's a fit for me.
Good. Any other comments from the council? Any comments from the
Sounds good to
public?
me.
I don't agree with it, but I'm on the park board.
We get somebody with no ideas now. No more? Okay. Seeing no more, Janelle, would you take the vote?
Councilmember Barker?
Abstain.
Councilmember Brown?
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson?
Aye.
And Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Item number 8, discussion decision, appointment of councilperson to serve on the TIF and TED board in accordance with Stevensville Municipal Code 2-3-330. Have a motion.
And make a motion to appoint council member Cindy Brown to serve on the TIF and TED board in accordance with the Stevensville Municipal Code 2-30330.
We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Smith. Discussion by the council. Discussion by the public. Seeing none, Janelle, would you take the vote?
Councilmember Barker,
Aye.
Councilmember Brown,
Abstain.
Councilmember Nelson,
Aye.
and Councilmember Smith.
Motion passes 3-0. Item number I, discussion decision, appointment of councilperson to serve on the park board. Councilmember Barker.
I make a motion to appoint Isaiah Nelson as a council to serve on the park board.
Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second by Mr. Smith. Discussion by the council.
Uh-oh.
Discussion by the public. Seeing none, Janelle, would you take the vote?
Councilmember Barker,
Aye.
Councilmember Brown,
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson,
Abstain.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Item number J, discussion decision, appointment of councilperson to serve on the airport board in accordance with the Stevensville Municipal Code 3-33.
Yeah, who's left?
Councilmember Barker, Brown.
I move that we appoint Councilmember Wally Smith to the airport board.
We have a second. Motion and a second by Mr. Nelson. Discussion by the airport. Councilmember Brown.
I did talk to Wally about it. He would really, really love to learn more about what's going on up at the airport. He'd like a tour of the airport. I think it might be a good fit for
Just let you know, I was out there today with Will,
so.
giving me a tour around here.
Good.
Almost helicopters, I couldn't help hearing.
Any other discussion from the council? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, Janelle, will you take the vote?
Councilmember Barker,
Aye.
Councilmember Brown,
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson,
Aye.
and Councilmember Smith.
Abstain.
Motion passes 3-0. No board reports. Town council comments. Councilmember Barker.
I'd like to thank the fire department again for taking down the Christmas lights. Sorry I couldn't help you. 5:30 was early for me. I was already at work. Saw you guys out there. So, again, great job putting them up, taking them down. Very nice to see that, and I hope that it never goes away.
To that, we had about 28 volunteers out there doing that.
Wow.
It happened in about 45 minutes.
That's pretty cool, man.
And then Trapper Creek, whatever they're over there, they breakfast for everybody, so.
Sweet. Keep them around. Don't let them get out of hand.
Any other town council comments?
Okay.
Mr. Smith.
Regarding an article in the Bitterroot Star regarding an application for mayor, it raises a lot of questions, and I wonder, Mr. Mayor, if you would look into this?
Oh, I would love to.
That is all. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Any other council comments? My executive report. On the 16th of January, I had a meeting with the Valley County Sheriff, Steve Holden, regarding our current police situation. He wanted me to let the council know that we're going to be short-staffed, I think everyone will know, with our police department. And he's willing to help out, as he has in the past, with his deputies. You know, we have a couple of them. One lives right across the street from you, and another one. They have a good repertoire with our police department here, and they're willing to give a presence and help out. But he also wanted to let you know that they will handle all the major calls, major crimes. Not there is a lot of them, but if there is, they'll be right there. But if it's a barking dog or a cat across that needs whatever, then he wants to let you guys know that if you guys want that type of service, it's gonna cost between $50 and $55 an hour, because they're gonna do that on overtime and charge them. Which they have before, and they have a right to, because safety isn't cheap. But just wanted you to know that they won't be able to take all the little cat calls. Okay? On the 19th, Public Works Director Lassiter, Janelle, and I had a meeting with Riley and Lovett regarding the HDR developments on Park Street. That was the second submittal, and I think I sent an email to you about that, on some of the issues that came up that get to be resolved, and I think Jeff might have got that email. Fire hydrants, stormwater flow rates, and lighting. That would have to be on the police end. This project is a little closer to being done. There's a lot of processes that still has to go through, the sidewalk issues and stuff like that, and access. So but according to Riley, it's getting a little closer. And once he signs off if he signs off on that, then we'll bring it before the council. Pine Street, that's a whole different issue. As Riley calls it now, or we all call it the swamp. This is the fifth submittal that PCI has put in, and the off-street parking requirements are met. However, groundwater surface issues are still not close to being at all mitigated. And the question came up that if the development was scaled down, Janelle asked that, would it give a better chance of approving? And the flat answer was no. Water is water. High water, standing water, acceptable. We'll just continue to push it down into these other homes until they can mitigate that issue. And he didn't sound too, like it's gonna happen. So there we are there. HDR, and it also came up that HDR is strongly recommending that the town develop a proper developmental code. What we mean by that is we just have that planned urban development code that's kind of vague in our town ordinance. So you can't really address a lot of these issues. But if we had a stronger developmental code, Park Street would have never happened. Would have never happened because it would have never even passed close to being the stuff that's going on now. So he's going to HDR is going to draw up a task order for us, and they're going to put the price and everything and bring that before me, and then I'll bring it to you guys for approval. It's kind of like the subdivision regulations that we passed a couple years ago. This gives stronger regulations within the development in our town here that we can also guidelines to go by, which should make, we shouldn't say a lot harder, but it just gives us more strength and more bone to work with, because right now, they can go through all the sidelines and everything, and we know it makes it harder. So that'll be coming in February or March. Mission Street Water Main Project update. This is the only for the Mission Street Water Main replacement bid. The bidding schedule is, it's already been advertised, that went out, I believe, Tuesday, the 24th?
Hit the newspaper this Wednesday, just Wednesday.
Yes.
Yep. And then it'll go next Wednesday as well.
And then we'll run a second time on the 31st. The bids are due on February 22nd at 2 p.m. We were going to have a pre-bid meeting, but we decided against that because, well, it's all pretty much the same bidders that are going to bid it again anyway. The bid opening will be on Thursday, February 22nd at a town council meeting. They'll close that day. They'll bring them down like we did on Spring Street in a sealed envelope. We'll open it up, go through all the numbers and everything like we did, and go through that process. And then I'm going to have a special town council meeting on the 29th of February where we'll approve it. No, we'll approve it the 22nd, and then we'll give the HDR the blessing to take it back to review it, and they thought it wouldn't take long. And then they'll bring it back the 29th to the special town council meeting for final approval. So yeah, the 22nd, we would table it, like we did Spring Street. Yep. Okay. And then one last thing, I'd like to point out to the general public that everybody knows I walk a lot. I got tired of looking at all the graffiti on the poles, so I went and took them down. So I'm gonna have Janelle put it on the website. You know, please don't put your graffiti up. I know you got lost cats and dogs, but it makes your town trashy.
The graffiti you actually talking about?
On the poles, you know, a lost dog or a cat, put on the poles on Main Street, you know, if you see my dog, call such and such. They've been there a long time. took those down and I'd just like to remind the public out there that the town ordinance gets that and we shouldn't be doing it. And if it keeps going and we have to enforce it. I'll say that.
Story Fork and I'm pretty sure Stevensville's going out of board, that kind of thing, I'm sure.
Running to the place to work, but our poles on Main Street aren't.
No, I'm with you 100%, that's what I'm saying.
So with that, that's my executive report, and do I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
First, we have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, I've been looking at it.
I said it again.